The teacher paid zero banking fees last month. Still paying yours? Most people think AI is for programmers and tech billionaires. The truth, the simplest AI breakthroughs are happening in the most ordinary places. And the people leading them aren't data scientists. They're people just like you. Here's what you need to understand. Right now, today, you're probably paying fees for things. I could negotiate away in seconds. Bank fees, subscription renewals, service charges, little cuts that add up to hundreds, sometimes thousands every year. And here's the part that should wake you up. Most of these fees exist because companies know you won't question them. They're banking on your time being too valuable to argue over $12. They've done the math. They know that for every 100 customers who notice an unfair charge, maybe 5 will actually do something about it. The rest will scroll past it, feel a little annoyed, and move on with their day. Aria Kestra sees this pattern everywhere. She calls it the friction tax. Companies build just enough bureaucratic hassle into their systems that most people pay rather than fight. A phone tree with 7 layers. A chat system that never quite understands. Hold times designed to make you give up. They're not evil. They're just counting on your exhaustion. On the fact that your lunch break is only 30 minutes. On the reality that after a full day of work, the last thing you want to do is argue with a customer service representative about a $15 charge. But here's what changed. AI doesn't get tired. It doesn't get frustrated. It doesn't hang up after 40 minutes on hold. And right now, while you're manually calling your bank to dispute a charge or accepting a fee because fighting it seems too hard, other people are sending AI agents to do it for them. They're getting refunds, waiving penalties, negotiating better rates. Not because they're smarter, because they stopped thinking of AI as some futuristic concept and started thinking of it as a really patient assistant who works for free. The gap isn't your technical skill. It's your awareness that this is even possible. And that gap, it's costing you real money every single month. Let me tell you about Maya Chen, high school physics teacher. Loves her job. Hates her banking app. She's been paying a $12 monthly maintenance fee for 3 years. 36 months, $432. For what? For having a checking account. For the privilege of letting a bank hold her money so they can lend it to other people at interest. Every few months, she'd think about calling to cancel it. But calling meant finding 30 minutes during her lunch break, navigating phone menus, explaining her situation to someone reading from a script who'd probably say no anyway. So she'd check her vintage watch, calculate how much of her planning period she'd lose, and decide the $12 wasn't worth the hassle. The friction tax wins again. Then one Tuesday, another teacher mentioned something in the staff room. He'd used an AI assistant to negotiate his cable bill down by $40 a month. Not a phone call, not a chat. He gave the AI his account info, told it what he wanted, and let it work. It drafted the message, found the right department, referenced competitor pricing and his payment history. 3 exchanges later. Done. $40 back. Every month, Maya went home that night and opened ChatGPT. She'd used it before for lesson plans, but never for something like this. She felt ridiculous at first, typing to a chatbot about her banking fees. But she wrote it out. I have a checking account with a $12 monthly fee. I've been a customer for 8 years with no overdrafts. I want this fee waived. Help me write a message that will work. What came back wasn't just a template. It was a complete strategy. The AI explained that banks have retention budgets, specifically for situations like this. It drafted an email that referenced her account history, mentioned competitor offerings with no fees, and politely positioned the request as a loyalty issue, not a complaint. It even suggested sending it at 10 a.m. on a Wednesday, when customer service departments are typically less overwhelmed and more likely to resolve issues quickly. Maya copied the email, sent it, expected nothing. The bank responded in 4 hours. Fee waived permanently. Not a promotional period, not a conditional offer. Just gone. 8 years of payments, and all it took was one well-written message. She didn't even have to compose herself. But here's where it gets interesting. That moment, that little victory, it changed something in Maya. She started seeing friction everywhere. The gym membership she'd been meaning to pause. The streaming service that raised prices. The insurance policy she'd never shopped around. The phone bill that somehow crept up $5 over the past year. All these little negotiations she'd been avoiding because they felt too tedious, too confrontational, too much like work after she'd already worked all day. She used the same approach. Each time, the AI helped her frame the request, pointed out leverage she didn't know she had, drafted language that was firm but polite, professional but personal. Within 2 weeks, she'd reclaimed over $60 in monthly recurring charges, over $700 a year. Not by working harder, by letting AI handle the patience-intensive work she'd been avoiding. And here's what surprised her most. The companies didn't fight back. Most of them just agreed. Because these fees were never really justified in the first place. They existed in the space between fairness and effort. The moment someone questioned them with clarity and persistence, they evaporated. Think of it like this. You wouldn't dig a foundation with a spoon when you could use a shovel. But most of us are still doing digital negotiations with spoons, manually drafting messages, researching policies, psyching ourselves up for confrontation. AI is the shovel. It doesn't make you lazy. It makes you effective. Here's what you do tonight. Open ChatGPT or Claude. Pick one recurring charge you've been meaning to question. Just one. Bank fee, subscription, service charge. Doesn't matter. Type this exact prompt. I'm paying X for Y. I want to reduce or eliminate this cost. Help me write a message that will work. Then read what it gives you. Adjust it to sound like you. Send it. That's it. 5 minutes. You're not automating your life. You're just refusing to pay the friction tax anymore. You don't realize what's already happening. But it starts now.